Oh man, Chicago. Now, I'm gonna go out there and say it right off the bat. This video is going to be a big Columbus dub, baby. Only in Cleveland, cuh. This is Ohio over here, and they're coming out with a trade from a few years ago that is an absolute game changer in the best way possible for their organization. This team is honestly kind of on the rise, and with the acquisition of Johnny Gaudreau, plus the development of guys like Kent Johnson, Cole Sillinger, Igor Chinikov, and all the players you have on the team already, the Blue Jackets, man, I'm telling you, be careful of these guys. The reason we're making this video, though, is because I wanted to revisit a trade that happened 1 year ago on July 23rd, 2021. It was probably the biggest move of maybe that period in the NHL, because the guy that got traded away was signed to an extensive, huge, expensive contract, too. And it's kind of the reason we're making this video here in the way that we are, because Chicago, man, holy crap, how the heck did you do this? We're talking about the Seth Jones trade and how the Columbus Blue Jackets pretty much set themselves up for the future in the best way possible with this move right here. Now, Seth Jones is the big asset of this entire trade, and the reason the Chicago Blackhawks made a trade for this guy in the first place is because he's a 27-year-old 6'4" right-handed defenseman, and he was a big dude with a pretty good resume over the past few years. Now, the last season he had in Columbus, he actually had 28 points in 56 games played, a little bit of a step down point production-wise from his previous season, but when Seth Jones was with the Predators and in his early days in Columbus, a lot of people would go out there and say that, hey, this guy was a legitimate number 1, number 2 defenseman. He's big, he's tough to play against, he can get points, and he can hit as well. Seth Jones was kind of a jack-of-all-trades type of dude, and heading into the last few years of his contract with the Columbus Blue Jackets, there was some concern saying, hey, this guy's probably going to want a lot of money, right? So are the Blue Jackets going to be able to shell that out? I mean, he's kind of declining the past few seasons he has been here, so what are they going to do? They traded him to Chicago in a move that saw them get a boatload of stuff in return, but we're going to save that as the video goes on. When Seth Jones was with Chicago, he actually got re-signed to a $9.5 million AAV extension for the next 8 years. This takes him until 2030, where he'll be, what is he going to be then? 35 years old, and sure, even though Seth Jones went out there and had a season where he had 51 points in 78 games, that's actually really good. Like, not gonna lie, the point production there is fantastic. There still were so many other concerns with his defensive play, his off-puck play, the play in his own zone, and Seth Jones really wasn't seen as a guy that was getting points because he's amazing. He was just kind of getting points because Chicago is Chicago, they kind of suck, and they needed somebody to be manning that power play. Seth Jones happened to be the guy. It was all circumstantial here with Seth Jones, and even though his point production is very good, the advanced analytics, the stats, the analytics nerds, I guess you would say, would still say that, yeah, Seth Jones wasn't as good as he was when he was posting up 50, near 60-point seasons with Columbus and actually seen as a number 1, number 2 bona fide D-man. Now, all things considered, I mean, the Blackhawks have themselves a legit player, it's just how projectable is a guy like that going to be able to play as his $9.5 million contract carries over the next few years? That's a question that we're going to have to answer as we go throughout the years in the NHL, but the trade which sent Seth Jones to Chicago in the first place is the reason we're making this video. I really want to make this point established that in the eyes of the fans and the media, Seth Jones was seen as a declining asset. I get it, the point production's great, but there still was a very real concern to the decline in his off-puck play and the play in his own zone. He was, for better or for worse, a ticking time bomb that the Columbus Blue Jackets would either have to commit to long-term because Seth Jones would have wanted that money, or they would have traded him away in a package that a lot of people said, okay, how much are they really going to be able to get for this guy? Because his reputation is going down the drain, he's not as good as he had been before, this, that, and the other thing. Well, this is the trade that sent Seth Jones to Chicago in the first place. Seth Jones went over to Chicago alongside of a first-round pick from Tampa Bay in 2021, as well as a sixth-round pick from Columbus in 2022, in exchange for Adam Boqvist, a 2021 first-round pick from Chicago, a 2021 second-round pick from Chicago that actually wasn't used by Columbus, they traded it away to Carolina, and a 2022 conditional first-round pick from Chicago. Now, before we go over to all the stuff the Blue Jackets accrued, let's go over to Chicago first and see what they did with the picks that they got as well. The 2021 first was used to select Nolan Allen. It was a Tampa Bay 32nd overall pick because, yeah, they won the Cup that year. Nolan Allen is a defenseman prospect from the WHL. He's pretty good. I definitely do think there is a future for this player in the NHL as long as his skating continues to develop. His skating and defense is actually pretty good in my opinion. And you have yourselves the 6th-round pick that was used in this year's NHL Entry Draft from Chicago as well. They selected Dominic James out of the University of Minnesota Duluth system in the NCAA. Now, he is a left-wing, right-wing player, an overage guy that wasn't really all too fantastic in the USHL going over into the NCAA, so we'll see where his development goes. But pretty much, the Chicago Blackhawks got themselves in this trade Seth Jones, whom they overpaid to heck, and who admittedly can produce points for them, Nolan Allen, and Dominic James. The Blue Jackets in return got Adam Boqvist for one, who is a young defenseman. He's right-handed, he's 21 years old, and he's signed till the end of 2025, making $2.6 million a season. He also just posted up 22 points in 52 games played, and he's projected to potentially being able to get more as his career goes on. I think I've made it no secret that I'm a very big fan of Adam Boqvist. This goes back to literally like 2018 when the guy was drafted. He was the very first Why I Want video, by the way. Trivia knowledge for the Lego Rock 79 stands out there. They also had themselves a 2021 first-round pick from Chicago, that in which they used to select Cole Sillinger, who is... I mean, the guy's 19 years old. He just turned 19. He posted up 16 goals in 79 games played this recent season for Columbus immediately after the 2021 draft. Talk about making an impact with your team as an 18-year-old. Cole Sillinger is a goal-scoring machine, and he's likely going to develop into a 20, 30, maybe 35-goal guy in the NHL if everything goes right. He is so good, and I really do like the development path that Cole Sillinger is on. He's a bona fide top 6 forward if everything goes properly with his development. You also have a 2021 second-round pick that the Columbus Blue Jackets acquired that they did not actually use. They traded it away in that same year to the Carolina Hurricanes for the signing rights to Jake Bean. Now, Jake Bean is a really interesting defenseman himself. He's 24 years old, 6'1", is a left-handed guy, signed till the end of 2024 at $2.3 million a season. He had 25 points in 67 games played for the Blue Jackets this season, which is not bad in the slightest. You compare Bean and Boqvist together, you say, hey, these guys both got sent over to Columbus in this trade, plus Cole Sillinger, plus one more asset, the 2022 first-round pick conditional, that was actually conditional on whether or not Chicago would win the draft lottery. They didn't, so Columbus got the pick. And they selected David Jiricek out there. This is a guy that has a top 2 ceiling at the NHL, 6'3", a right-handed defenseman. Everything you had in Seth Jones, David Jiricek projects to potentially being able to do the same, if not even more. The Columbus Blue Jackets made absolute highway robbery with this move, firstly, because they did not have to re-sign Seth Jones to a $9.5 AAV contract. And in this trade, you got not 1, not 2, but 3 very legitimate NHL players in Boqvist, Sillinger right away. By the way, he's only 19. And you traded away that second-round pick for Jake Bean. Not to mention you got a top A1 prospect in David Jiricek too. And I get it, there's Nolan Allen in there, there's Dominic James that Chicago ended up getting with the 6th-round pick, but at the end of the day, the Chicago Blackhawks, I mean, you shelled out big money to a guy that's going to be playing big minutes for you and that's going to be producing big points for you, I get that, but to give up the amount of assets and the youth in these assets that you did, Boqvist is only 21, 22 years old, Jake Bean's only 24, Cole Sillinger, 19, David Jiricek is 18 as well, so... You're talking about future? You want to talk about long-term? You want to talk about trading away Doc and DeBrincat and letting Kubalik and Strome go away for free because you want to get younger? This type of move sets your team back so far because it goes against everything you want to do a year after the trade was made. I get it, there's different circumstances here, it's a different management team. Stan Bowman is out because of the Kyle Beach situation. It's absolutely terrible and heartbreaking to see that whole thing go down, but at the end of the day, the Blackhawks keep taking L's after L's after L's. We make videos all the time talking about how the Blackhawks are screwing up, and this is just another one, because 1 year after the Seth Jones trade, is accomplished. You have yourselves the finalized details after the 2022 draft comes and goes because the picks that were traded in the trade were from that draft. And now things look even worse because, hey, Chicago just gave up an opportunity to select David Jiricek. Sure, they traded for the 7th overall pick from Ottawa in the DeBrincat trade, but they used that to select Kevin Korchinski. I don't think that Korchinski has nearly the high ceiling that David Jiricek has. Either way, talk to the comments, let your thoughts about this trade and everything we have discussed in this video. Do you like the assets that Chicago ended up trading away if you're a Columbus fan? I know we do have a lot of Columbus fans that actually tune into the channel and pay attention to the videos and everything, so how are you feeling about the Seth Jones trade a year after it has been accomplished? Would you rather have Seth Jones and the contract he has, or would you rather have the assets that you have instead, including Jiricek, including Sillinger, including Boqvist, including Bean? Talk to me in the comments, let your thoughts. I hope you enjoyed this video. Juraj 99, and bye.